Hey guys, Nate with Ninja Paintball here. Gonna do a quick video showing you how to adjust the Ninja Pro V2 regulator. As you see in front of us here, we have the Ninja Pro V2 reg. It is right now mounted on a die proto reflex rail. As you can see from the frost on here, I've actually just emptied it. Before we do anything, we of course want to make sure that your system is empty. One of the nice ways to do this is if you have a macro line gun, you can pop this macro line out here and activate the system. This will allow the air to vent through here. Now keep in mind, this will cause your reg to get quite cold and have some condensation on it if you're draining a lot of air. Just make sure there's no air in the system. Alright guys, so I pulled that off the ASA there. As you can see, it's fully empty. I don't know if you can see there with that gauge. There's no air in the system. One of the good ways to check this, and you always want to make sure you do this, if there's no air in there, you can quite easily push down that ball. If there is any residual air pushing that's down, I'm going to let that out. We just want to make sure there's no residual air left in this bonnet up here. Once all that's out, it's going to allow us to remove this a bit better. We are going to remove these 3 bonnet set screws. There's 3 of them here on the bonnet. You do want to make sure that you are not removing these set screws in the rotational collar on the Pro V2 reg. Those will stay in there. Those set screws are only to be loosened up to rotate the system, which of course you want to do when the system is empty. But for the sake of this, we are going to be removing those. Alright guys, so got those bonnet set screws removed from here. They're right there. Just 3 of them, remember, on the top portion of the bonnet there. If you did remove all residual pressure here, you won't have any difficulty unscrewing this. So you do want to make sure, if you have any difficulty here, make sure that you press down on this ball, make sure that any residual pressure here is released. The Allen key I used to remove those bonnet set screws, it's a 5/64. Should come with most paintball guns out there. If not, you can get it at a hardware store. You may have it in an extra toolkit at your house. You know, it's very easy to find. These bonnet set screws, they are 8/32 size. So if you do need to look for something that'll work specifically with that, that will help you out. So with those bonnet set screws removed, we can actually just remove the bonnet here. And as you can see, it comes in 2 pieces there. We'll set the actual tank body to the side here for a second. Side here, you will see your spring stack with the piston. This will stick in your bonnet most of the time. If you do have any difficulty removing this, you don't need a tool. You don't need any sort of tool. You can just wiggle it out. It's just the O-rings keeping the seal there. Keep in mind, when you remove this, do not lose this at all, because actually sitting right in that pocket there is your ball. That is very important that you don't lose that. You don't want to have to replace that. Same with the spring here. We can pull that spring out and set the piston stack to the side here. If you look in here, you'll see you got your ball sitting right in there. We could pop that right out. This is actually the ball valve. You don't want to lose that. It's very important to it. You can clean it off, make sure there's no dirt or debris on it. Inside of here, you will see the actual green ball seat. That is your seal in the reg. If you see any dirt or debris in there when you open it up, you do want to make sure you clean it off. Use a Q-tip or something of that nature to just kind of clean that off there. Any sort of residue or anything you feel on these regs, that's actually a silicone-based lube. You always want to make sure that you're using a silicone-based lube. Perfectly normal. This here, this is actually your Belleville spring stack. We do not want to touch or adjust this at all. This is actually set from the factory. It will stay on there because this bottom O-ring. If you notice, now I'm going to have to do a zoom in here for you, but if you notice, they are actually curved. And that's really going to be how you know the difference between your Belleville springs and your actual shims. You may have a shim that may want to stick around the bottom here when you pull it out, but you'll find that it'll be very easy to remove from there. It's not going to actually stick to that bottom piece. It's just kind of the lube will keep it in place. So we'll set that down. Of course, you got your ball spring there. We covered the top portion of the reg there. Let's look at the reg body here a little bit. That's this black anodized piece here. It holds the burst disc, your gauge, your fill nipple, as well as your rotational collar. Now this rotational collar actually does not come off. That will stay on there. And if you look inside the reg body, the reg body itself is anodized black. Now inside there you'll see it'll be silver, and that tells you that your shims are actually sitting down in that. There will be 3 shims in here. You can either try and shake them out, use a pick, something to kind of pull them out. One of the things that I really like to do is I grab a magnet cap or a magnet and pop it in there. They'll come right on out. So, and then as you can see, that internal, fully black, anodized like the body, good to go. Now let's look at these shims a little bit. These are your actual bonnet shims, your Pro Reg shims. These are what adjust the pressure. Now, from the factory, unless it designates it's an SLP or SHP, it will be set at 800 PSI. That is with all 3 shims in there. Now, if I remove a shim, we are now at 700 PSI. Remove one more, we are at 550 PSI. And then if I take all 3 of those shims out, that'll get us at 450 PSI output. Now, 450 PSI is really ideal for a lot of the electronic markers out there. Same with 550. So 1 or 2 shims in here is going to be perfect for a lot of the electronic markers out there. A lot of the on-off ASAs. That's really going to be where you want to set your pressure at. Anything above that, if you got a Tipman, an A5, you know, something that requires a higher pressure, keep all 3 in there. You don't need to adjust it. It'll be a little bit more difficult to activate because the ball does have a larger surface area, but you'll still be able to activate it with a simple screw-in system. So we could take these shims, set them aside, and that's your basic pressure adjustment there, guys. Now, we'll go over reinstalling this now for you. So we got our reg body here, rotational collar. We don't need to touch any of this. We will be going over maintenance and covering up these other portions here in other videos. And keep in mind, guys, all of this is covered in our manuals that are on our website. We keep all of that information fully available to everybody on ninjapaintball.com. At any point in time, we're always here to help. Those are always available to you. So we got our reg body here. Now what we want to do is we want to take our bonnet and we will take our ball and we're just going to drop that right in there, and it's going to kind of put itself in place there. Hold it right in the bottom there. Make sure you don't tip this over or lose this. Next we can actually take our spring and put it right on top, and you can kind of fix it where it just stays right in the middle there. Then we want to take our piston with the Belleville stack on it. That should not come off. That'll stay as one unit. With silicone based lube around these O-rings here, we could just pop that right back in. Now that spring will go into the piston body. Just give it a snug little push and that will hold that back in place. So you can see our ball's in place there with the piston inside the reg. Your spring stacks there on the bottom, all one piece. You can set that down. For the sake of this video, we're going to keep this at 450, so I'm not going to put any of these shims back in there, so we can leave those to the side. Make sure you don't lose these guys. They're very small, very thin, very easy to lose. If you do lose them, contact us. We can get you some replacements, but please try and make sure you don't lose those. So we're going to keep it at 450 PSI. We don't need to put any shims in there. We're good to go. Just place that right back on. And you want to make sure you get a nice smooth thread in there. So it's very nice and smooth. You won't have any difficulty. Now if you have any difficulty screwing this in, stop. You know, take a look at it. Look for any metal shavings. Look for any debris or anything that may be in there. Back it off. Inspect the threading. If you do have issues with this getting stuck, call us. We can look at it, see what's going on there. But this will be a very smooth screw down. Now you do want to make sure that there is no gap between the reg bonnet and the rotational collar on the Pro V2 regs. So as you can see, there is no gap there at all. That tells us that's in place. Your ball's on the top portion here and your reg is back together. Now what we want to do is we want to replace these 3 bonnet set screws. We're just going to finish getting this last one on there. Now keep in mind, we only need to snug it up. Don't need to He-Man it, guys. Just, it's in there. Please don't over tighten it, don't cross thread it. You just want to make sure there's no gap there. Those are snugged down. All 3 of them do need to be on there. And then you are good to go play some paintball with your new Ninja SL Pro V2 system. Of course, if you guys got any questions, any concerns, anything you need at all, shoot us an email, give us a call. We're always here to help. We're on all sorts of different social media here for you. Of course, check out your local dealer. They can usually help you, have replacement parts, and if you ever need anything that they may not have, of course, give us a call.